My boss gave me a car as a gift. I thought it was the happiest day of my life until the police told me it was evidence in a murder case. I swear, life has a twisted sense of humor. One moment you're cursing at your 10-year-old Toyota that refuses to start in the Chicago winter, and the next moment your boss is standing in the parking lot, smiling like Santa Claus, tossing you a set of keys. It happened about 6 months ago. I just finished another 12-hour day in the office, emails, reports, and all that corporate bullshit that makes you question if selling your soul might at least come with benefits. My boss, Richard, called me over as I was packing up. "Josh, come outside for a second," he said with that smirk he always wore, the kind that made you wonder if he was about to promote you or fire you on the spot. I followed him out into the cold, still half expecting him to hand me more work. Instead, he stopped in front of this sleek black Lexus parked near the entrance. "This," he said, patting the hood like it was his pet, "is yours now." I laughed, because who the hell gives their employee a Lexus? But he was dead serious. He dangled the keys in front of me. "Take it. You've been killing it at work. Consider this a bonus." My jaw nearly hit the pavement. A bonus? Dude, the last time they gave me a bonus, it was a $50 Starbucks gift card and a thank you for your dedication. This was a whole different level. I remember gripping the keys, my heart pounding. For a second, I thought maybe this is it. Maybe hard work actually pays off. When I slid into that leather seat, I swear I felt like I just jumped a few tax brackets. The engine purred like it belonged in a commercial, and for once, I didn't feel like some underpaid cog in the machine. I felt like somebody. That night, I drove aimlessly through the city, windows down despite the freezing air, blasting old school hip-hop. People looked at me differently at stoplights. And yeah, I liked it. I won't lie, it felt damn good. But here's the thing. Life doesn't hand you something shiny without hiding a crack somewhere. The first crack appeared a week later. My buddy Eric, who works as a mechanic, hopped in for a ride to a bar downtown. He sniffed the air, made a face. "Man, what's that smell?" "Smells like bleach." I laughed it off. "Probably just a deep cleaning before they gave it to me." Eric shrugged. But later that night, when he checked out the trunk, his expression shifted. "Yo, Josh, why the hell are there scratch marks on the inside of your trunk lid?" I brushed it off, told him it was nothing. But I didn't sleep easy that night. Then came the second crack. One Saturday, I was driving my parents to brunch. We were at a red light when a patrol car pulled up next to us. The cop in the passenger seat gave my car a long look. Not a casual glance, a long, inspecting look. Then he said something to the driver, and they both stared. My mom whispered, "Josh, why are the police looking at your car like that?" I forced a smile. "Relax, Mom, it's a Lexus. They're probably jealous." But deep down, my stomach twisted. Fast forward a week, and it wasn't just glances anymore. I was heading home from work when flashing lights appeared in my rearview. Sirens. My chest tightened. I pulled over, heart racing. One cop walked up, flashlight in hand, license and registration. I handed it over, trying to act cool, but my palms were sweating. "How long you had this vehicle?" he asked, I scanning the interior. A couple weeks. My boss gave it to me." That answer made his eyebrows shoot up. "Your boss gave you a car?" "Yeah," I stammered. He wanted to reward me for good work." The cop exchanged a look with his partner. It wasn't a friendly look. "Mind if we take a quick look inside?" Every instinct screamed say no, but my voice betrayed me. "Sure." They poked around, checked the trunk, the back seat, under the mats. I stood there on the sidewalk, pretending to scroll through my phone, while my heart tried to hammer its way out of my chest. Finally, they let me go. "Drive safe," one of them said, but his eyes lingered just a little too long. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling. I sat in the car with the engine off, staring at the steering wheel, thinking, why would my boss just hand me this car? The leather seat that once felt like a throne now felt like a trap. And then the third crack, the one that shattered everything. I was cleaning out the glove compartment, shoving receipts into an envelope, when my hand brushed against something metallic. I pulled it out. It was a bullet casing, just sitting there. My breath caught in my throat. My fingers went numb. That's when the puzzle pieces slammed together in my head. The bleach smell, the scratches in the trunk, the cop's suspicious looks. This wasn't a gift. This wasn't a bonus. This was a fucking setup. Now imagine what happens next. But before that, smash that like button and hit subscribe, cause the craziest part is just getting started. I sat there with the casing in my palm, frozen like it was radioactive. My brain kept trying to come up with normal explanations. Maybe it belonged to the previous owner. Maybe someone at the dealership dropped it. Hell, maybe it was just some leftover from a hunting trip. But deep down, I knew things weren't adding up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. Richard's smirk when he handed me the keys. The bleach smell Eric mentioned. The cops watching too closely. And now, this. By morning, I decided I needed answers. At the office, Richard was his usual self, charming, loud, cracking jokes too big for the room. Everyone loved him, or at least pretended to. I waited until lunch when he was alone in his office, sipping scotch like it was water. "Hey," I started, trying to sound casual. About the Lexus." He smiled wide. "How's she driving?" "Smooth," I said. "But..." I found something in the glove box. His eyes flicked up, sharp for just a second, before he leaned back. "Oh yeah? What did you find?" I hesitated, then lied. "Just some old receipts. Nothing major." Richard smirked, swirling his glass. "Yeah, previous owner probably left a bunch of crap in there. Don't worry about it. It's clean." That word clean made my stomach twist. The rest of the day, I barely got anything done. Every time my phone buzzed, I half expected it to be the police. Every time Richard passed by my desk, I felt like he knew what I'd found. That weekend, I drove the car to Eric's garage. He's the only guy I trust with stuff like this. When he saw the casing, his face went pale. "Josh, man, this isn't a joke. You realize this could tie your car to a shooting, right? They keep casings for ballistics. If the cops ever swab this, you're fucked." "Yeah," I muttered. "I figured." Eric looked me dead in the eye. "You gotta get rid of this car." "Like yesterday," I laughed, but it came out hollow. "And what? Just tell my boss. Hey, thanks for the free Lexus, but it smells like bleach and his bullet casings in it." Eric shook his head. "I don't know, dude, but if I were you, I'd keep my mouth shut until you figure this out. Don't go accusing anyone, especially not him." That night, I sat in the driver's seat with the engine off. The city lights bounced off the windshield, and all I could think was Richard trying to reward me, or bury me. Monday came, and things got worse. Halfway through the day, two cops walked into the office. Not in uniform, plain clothes, badges clipped to their belts. They went straight into Richard's office. Doors shut. The whole office buzzed with whispers. When the door finally opened, Richard walked them out, laughing, shaking hands like they were old friends. But his eyes scanned the room, and for a split second, they locked on mine. Cold, calculating. I couldn't breathe. At 5 o'clock, just as I was ready to sprint out, Richard strolled over. "Josh," he said smoothly, "can I see you in my office?" My legs went weak, but I forced a smile. "Sure." His office smelled like cigars and expensive cologne. He poured two glasses of scotch, handed me one. "Relax," he said, settling into his chair. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a chuckle. "Just tired." He studied me for a moment, then leaned forward. "You like the car, right?" "Yeah, it's amazing." "Good," he said, "because loyalty matters to me, Josh, and I take care of people who stay loyal. You understand?" I nodded, throat dry. "Good man." He clinked his glass against mine, then leaned back like the conversation was over. But walking out of that office, the message was loud and clear. I wasn't just driving a Lexus. I was driving leverage, a leash. The casing was still in my pocket, burning a hole through the fabric. That night, I Googled everything. Lexus model, Chicago crime reports, unsolved shootings. And sure enough, one headline jumped out at me: suspect vehicle, black Lexus. Last seen leaving scene of homicide. My blood went ice cold. The article mentioned the neighborhood, the time frame, and yeah, it matched perfectly. I stared at the screen, shaking. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't coincidence. This was real. And the worst part, the car was parked right outside my apartment. Anyone could be watching. Anyone could connect the dots. I didn't know whether to call the cops, confront Richard, or just vanish. All I knew was that my so-called gift had turned into a ticking time bomb. And the clock was already running. The Lexus sat outside my apartment like a goddamn landmine. Every time I looked out the window, I half expected to see flashing blue and red lights surrounding it. Sleep became a joke. Food tasted like cardboard. I'd sit on my couch, staring at the keys on the counter, asking myself the same question over and over: why me? A few days later, I got the answer, or at least part of it. I was walking into work when two detectives were waiting in the lobby. Suits, serious faces, the type that make you wish you'd called in sick. They flashed their badges and said, "Joshua Miller." My stomach bottomed out. Yeah, that's me. Mind if we ask you a few questions about your vehicle? Of course I minded. Every cell in my body screamed to say no, but what the hell was I supposed to do? Run? So I nodded, forcing my voice steady. Sure. We sat in a side room near reception. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Walls to white. The kind of place where you feel guilty even if you've done nothing wrong. Detective number 1 opened a folder. Inside were photos. One of them was the Lexus. My Lexus, parked outside a liquor store. Yellow tape in the background. Another shot the trunk open. Crime scene markers on the ground. I almost puked. We believe this vehicle was involved in an incident about 6 weeks ago, the detective said. His tone was calm, but his eyes pinned me like a bug under glass. Involved how? I croaked. He tilted his head. That's what we're trying to figure out. You've been driving it recently? Yes, I admitted. My boss gave it to me. Detective number 2 raised an eyebrow. Your boss gave you a Lexus? I felt like an idiot repeating it out loud. Yeah, said it was a bonus. They exchanged one of those cop looks, the silent kind that says everything. Detective number 1 leaned forward. Josh, I'll be straight with you. This car is tied to a homicide investigation. A man was shot behind that liquor store. Witnesses saw a black Lexus leaving the scene. Now, if you've got information, this is the time to share it. My pulse hammered. My palms were soaked. I wanted to scream that it wasn't me, that I'd never even been near that place. But my tongue felt glued to the roof of my mouth. Finally, I blurted, "Look, I didn't know any of this. Richard, my boss, he just handed me the keys." I thought he was being generous. That's it. The detectives didn't flinch, didn't write anything down. They just stared. After what felt like forever, detective number 2 slid me his card. If you remember anything at all, you call us. Understand? I nodded, too fast, too desperate. Yeah, of course. Walking back to my desk felt like dragging a corpse behind me. My coworkers looked up, whispering. Richard's office door was shut, blinds drawn. At 5, I tried to sneak out, but Richard intercepted me. His smile was wide, but his eyes were knives. "Cops talk to you?" he asked, voice low. My throat went dry. "Yeah, just routine questions." Richard's hand clapped my shoulder, heavy, like an anchor. "Good. And I'm sure you told them the truth, that you don't know anything." It wasn't a question. It was a command. That night, lying in bed, I realized something brutal. Richard hadn't given me that car because he liked me. He'd given it to me because he needed a shield. Someone dumb enough or desperate enough to take the fall if things went sideways. And the cops, they were circling closer every day. The bullet casing was still hidden in my nightstand. And I knew sooner or later, I'd have to choose, keep my mouth shut and risk going down with Richard, or hand it over and pray I didn't get buried alive. Either way, the clock was ticking. I couldn't keep it in anymore. The casing in my nightstand felt like it was pulsing, like a beacon calling the cops straight to my door. Every creak in the hallway outside my apartment, every knock on a neighbor's door, I thought it was them. So I did the only thing I could think of. I called Eric. He answered on the second ring, half asleep. "Jesus, Josh, it's 2 in the morning. I need you to look at something," I said. "Now." An hour later, we were in his garage, the smell of oil and cigarettes hanging heavy in the air. I dropped the casing onto his workbench. It clinked louder than it should have. Eric stared at it, then back at me. "Dude, why the fuck are you even holding this? You should have thrown it in the lake, because if they find it in the car, I'm screwed. If they find it in my apartment, I'm screwed. And if I toss it, I look guilty as hell. Tell me what the hell I'm supposed to do, Eric." He rubbed his face. "You need a lawyer." Not me, but I didn't have money for a lawyer. I had rent, bills, and the privilege of being underpaid at a job where my bonus was a murder weapon on wheels. Eric leaned closer. "Josh, be real with me. You think your boss is clean?" I wanted to say yes, to believe Richard was just some eccentric rich guy with questionable taste in gifts, but the truth sat heavy on my tongue. "No, I don't think he's clean at all." Eric swore under his breath. "Then you better be careful. Guys like him, they don't just hand out cars, they hand out problems. And they don't like when problems talk." His words followed me home like ghosts. The next day, I tried to keep my head down at work, pretend everything was fine. But Richard wasn't stupid. He walked past my desk, clapped me on the shoulder, leaned down, and whispered, "You look tired, Josh. Everything good?" I forced a smile. "Yeah. Just busy." "Good," he said softly, almost kindly, "because stress makes people say stupid things. And you don't look like a stupid guy." It wasn't a threat on paper, but I heard it loud and clear. That evening, I finally caved and called a lawyer. Not one I could afford long-term, just some guy a friend of a friend recommended, who agreed to meet for coffee. He showed up in a cheap suit, hair messy, eyes sharp. I slid the casing across the table, wrapped in a napkin. His eyebrows shot up. "Where did you get this?" "From my car," I said quietly. "A car my boss gave me." The lawyer let out a low whistle. "Kid, you're in deep shit. Tell me something I don't know." He leaned forward. "Listen carefully. If that casing matches a crime scene, and they tie it to you, you're looking at accessory charges at minimum, possibly worse. The only way out is to cooperate. But here's the kicker: if your boss is involved, you're putting yourself in the crosshairs twice. Cops on one side, him on the other. So what the hell do I do?" I asked. "Document everything," he said firmly. "Texts, calls, anything linking that car to him. If this blows up, you'll need proof you're not the one behind the wheel that night." I left the caf shaking, the casing heavy in my pocket. When I got home, there was an envelope slipped under my door. No address, no stamp, just my name. Inside was a single photo. It was me, standing by the Lexus, smiling, keys in hand. On the back, in messy red marker, were 3 words: "Keep your mouth shut." I sat on my couch, photo trembling in my hands, heart pounding so loud it hurt. This wasn't just about the car anymore. Someone was watching me, and they wanted me silent. The photo sat on my coffee table all night, staring at me like an accusation. My own damn smile frozen, clueless, holding the keys like I just won the lottery. Except it wasn't a prize. It was a noose. By morning, I couldn't shake the paranoia. Walking to work, I felt eyes on me. Every car that slowed down made me flinch. Every stranger's glance felt too long. When I got to the office, Richard was waiting by my desk. He didn't even bother pretending this was casual. He leaned against the cubicle wall, grin plastered on his face. "Morning, Josh," he said smoothly. "Sleep well?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, fine." He lowered his voice. "Good, because I'd hate for stress to get to you. Makes a man sloppy, makes him say things he shouldn't." My hands went cold. He knew, he fucking knew. Before I could answer, he patted my shoulder firm, almost painful, and walked off, whistling. That day dragged like a nightmare. My phone buzzed twice with unknown numbers. No voicemails, just silence. I didn't answer. Could have been telemarketers. Could have been cops. Could have been worse. At lunch, I ducked into an alley near the office to call the lawyer again. My voice shook as I explained about the photo. "Josh, listen to me carefully," he said. "This isn't just about evidence anymore. If someone left that at your door, they're making sure you know you're watched. That's intimidation. And that means your boss or whoever he's connected to isn't going to hesitate if you become a liability." I clenched my jaw. "So what? I just wait for the cops to cuff me? Or for him to put a bullet in my head?" "No," the lawyer replied. "You start protecting yourself. Do you have anything that ties the car directly back to him? Paperwork, texts, witnesses?" I thought about it. The car title wasn't in my name. Richard had arranged everything as a surprise. There were no emails, no official records. Just me, the car, and his word. It hit me like a gut punch. If this went down, I'd be the only name on the board. That night, I drove the Lexus into a parking garage downtown, left it on the 5th floor, and walked away. I couldn't even look at it anymore. Every time I touched the wheel, I felt blood on my hands, but leaving it didn't solve shit. The next evening, as I was walking out of work, a black SUV rolled up slow beside me. The window lowered, and Richard's driver, a big guy named Carl, leaned out. "Boss wants to see you." My stomach turned. I was just heading home. Carl's stare was ice. Now, I climbed into the back seat, heart pounding. Richard was waiting at a steakhouse, sitting in a private booth like he owned the place. The smell of expensive whiskey and charred meat filled the air. "Josh," he boomed, grinning wide. "Sit, sit. You look pale. Haven't been sleeping?" I slid into the booth. "I've been fine." He sipped his drink, eyes never leaving mine. "Good, because I need fine people around me. People I can trust. You're one of those people, right?" My throat went dry. "Of course, see, loyalty means everything in business and in life. Without loyalty, people get replaced." He cut into his steak, blood pooling on the plate, then looked up with that same wolfish smile. "You're not the kind of guy who'd betray me, are you, Josh?" I forced a smile, but my hands shook under the table. No, never, good man. He raised his glass. Here's to loyalty. I left that dinner with my stomach in knots. He didn't need to say the words outright. The message was clear: stay quiet, or else. When I got home, another envelope waited at my door. Inside was a single bullet. No photo, just the bullet. My hands trembled as I held it. This wasn't intimidation anymore. This was a countdown. And I knew I was running out of time. The bullet sat on my kitchen table all night. I couldn't touch it, couldn't throw it away. It was like a message carved in lead: we're watching, we're close. By morning, I knew something had to break. Either me, or this whole twisted game Richard was playing. Around noon, two detectives showed up at the office again. This time, they didn't ask politely. They walked straight to my desk, flashed a warrant, and told me to come with them. My coworkers' eyes burned holes in my back as I followed them out. Richard was leaning against his office door, sipping coffee, smiling like the devil himself. At the precinct, the questions came fast. Where did you get the Lexus? When exactly? Did you notice anything unusual? I stared at the table, words tumbling in my head, but never making it to my mouth. Richard's face hovered in my mind, his warning disguised as a toast: without loyalty, people get replaced. Finally, Detective Number 1 slammed a photo in front of me. The liquor store, the body bag, the Lexus parked in the background. This car is going to bury someone, Josh. Question is, does it bury you or your boss? My chest tightened, sweat pooled on my neck. I thought about the casing in my nightstand, the photo slipped under my door, the bullet that waited for me last night. If I stayed quiet, Richard would win and I'd rot in a cell, wearing chains meant for him. If I spoke up, maybe I'd walk free, or maybe I'd get a bullet in my head before sunrise. My voice came out low, cracking. The car wasn't mine. Richard gave it to me. The room went silent. The detectives exchanged a look, not surprised, but satisfied. One of them leaned in. Good. Then let's make sure he can't give away any more cars. When they finally let me out, the sun was setting, orange bleeding across the Chicago skyline. I half expected Richard to be waiting outside, ready to finish the job, but the street was empty, quiet. I walked home with my heart hammering, every step echoing like a countdown. That night, lying in bed, I kept replaying everything: the keys in my hand, Richard's grin, the bullet on my table. Did I just save myself, or sign my own death warrant? The Lexus was gone now. The cops had it, but Richard was still out there, and men like him don't forgive. I closed my eyes, whispering to no one: a gift like that, it always comes with a price. And I knew the bill hadn't even arrived yet.